30 seconds. 20 seconds. 10 seconds.
'Hi,
My name's J.C. McCauley.
I'm Nyesha McCauley, and you're watching AccessTV.org.
All right, my friends. Once again, it is indeed time to get our talk on. It's Morning Talk with me, your host, J.C. McCauley, along with the champions of talk, Cleo Duke-Wright in the house. Good morning, Miss Cleo. How are you? How are you? How are you? How are you?
Good morning, Stan. I'm doing very well. Thank you very much.
It's one of those days. We always seem to have a technical problem. This is totally my fault. Totally my fault. Really no excuse for it. If I'd have come in the studio earlier, I'd have been on top of it. But you know, you figure everything's working, so you'd be good to go.
Last minute Joe.
Last minute Joe.
Last minute Joe.
Last minute
Yep.
Sam. Last minute Charlie. Last minute Stan. How was your weekend?
Oh, my weekend was good. It was pretty good. I worked hard at the thrift shop at the church. That's why I knew you didn't hear me on Saturday because I was busy running around. But it was a pretty good weekend.
So now you volunteer at your church's thrift shop.
Yes.
On Saturday mornings.
Saturday morning.
And it seems is always busy. It's like
yes.
Like none is nonstop from when you open to close.
Right. This thrift shop only is open 4 hours a week. And we've made, since we opened, thousands of dollars. We don't know. The person who started it, the minister's wife, Pat, she prayed that, she said to the Lord, just let me make $100 a week. Just $100 a week and we'll be all right. We've made $400 in a week, $300, but it's just every, and when it slows down, we still make that $100, little more than $100, except for 1 week, when they had a general festival in Vernon, where the whole town went out, and so everybody was open to do everything. We didn't quite make it, but yeah.
So if viewers wanted to stop by the gift shop, where would they go? They
would go, oh gosh. they're on like the London Turnpike, 83. They're off of 84.
The New London?
No,
London Turnpike.
no, wait a minute. Hold on, wait a minute.
She has to look up the address. Now, she goes to church here every Sunday. She goes out there every Saturday.
Yes, I do. And I'm always doing something. And
I know the feeling, because like you go to a place all the time. That doesn't necessarily mean you know the address.
right, I don't.
Like I go to Lily's every Friday. Although this Friday I won't be going to Lily's because I'm gonna go to Lily's on Wednesday. But I don't know the address for Lily's. If someone asks me, well, what's their address? I'd have to say, I don't know. I don't know the address.
I don't know. It's Vernon United Methodist Church.
Mm-hmm.
But in the bulletin, it doesn't tell you what's the address. I don't believe. I just never noticed. I just Vernon United Methodist Church. Straight off the highway.
Vernon United Methodist Church.
If you're going east on 84, it's exit 64.
It's on the Hartford Turnpike.
That's what I mean.
Hartford Turnpike. It's located at 401 Hartford Turnpike in Vernon, Connecticut.
Okay, you looked it up.
I looked it up.
Yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I'm going to tell them. How could you not put the address?
Yeah. 401 Hartford Turnpike. Right near the Vernon Diner.
Yes. Right near the Vernon Diner.
Yeah, I Googled it.
So we don't have a lot of members, but there's good people there, and we have Bible study, and you're able to talk out and think for yourself. I think that the reason that I liked it there is because I could be myself, and they use my gifts, and it's okay. You know? They use the gifts that I have, and they allow that everyone to use their gifts and what they do. And I don't see, like when I was in Harvard, I don't see a lot of jealousies and they're gonna take my, I don't see a lot. I don't see any of that. We come to church however we come to church. It's some people dress, some people don't. Some people, and we all eat after church. After church is a
corporate supper.
Yeah, and
shared meal.
Yep. It's as long as a church service. Maybe longer.
So that would be it's like the party after. It's the meeting after the meeting.
Yes. And we have meetings sometimes there, but most of the time after church we're just socializing.
Well, you said something that's pretty interesting. Well, I shouldn't say interesting. Very important, and that's being used.
Yeah.
Feel the capacity to contribute what one has to the benefit of the folks that are gathered. Like everybody wants to feel like I have value. I'm being used.
Right, and I couldn't find that. Every time I tried to do something, I felt like I was being stopped, or they didn't want me to do it, or they ignored me. So, and I did belong to a church who wanted me to do all of those things, but I didn't feel comfortable in that church. I didn't feel comfortable in how they did things. So, I was without a church for a while, and then I went to speak at this church for Women's Day, and a couple of years later, I did a couple of speeches there and assisted in a funeral and all of that, and I finally joined. But the biggest reason why I joined, went there, is because when I finally brought my husband there, they greeted him with such open arms. that was a turning point for me. that they accepted him with, just,
Mm-hmm.
and they treat him so good sometimes. I'm saying, what are you paying attention to him for? Well, I'm here, But I was very pleased with that.
Mm-hmm.
So we joined
Mm-hmm.
that church, and it's been wonderful for us. But it's a older church and older members and looking for younger members. But every organization is looking for the young people. The young people are out there doing their own thing.
Mm-hmm.
But everywhere I go, we need more young people. We need these old people to get out of the way. And you can't get out of the way if there's nobody to take your place.
That is a big problem with many institutions,
Yes.
organizations. They're aging. They're aging out.
They're aging out, but we're not even connecting. We're not even connecting with we're begging, but we're not connecting with younger people or different people. The young married people, the single mothers, the single fathers, we're not even connecting to them, because, and I find this everywhere, is that we have this idea of what people should be. Well, we need to get that out of our heads and go up to people, because everybody doesn't do a 9 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's not going to go to work.
Mm-hmm.
All those people who are asking you for money will never work.
Mm-hmm.
Will never work, don't want to work.
Mm-hmm.
And because their lifestyle is totally different, and they're not going to change that for you.
Mm-hmm.
So what is it? How do you connect? So I of course, I always go back to scripture, and I'm thinking that Jesus says, you want to walk, get up and walk.
Mm.
You could do that. But most of it's in the person.
Mm-hmm.
You can't give that to the person. You can awaken it, but you can't give it to them. And you can't do it. You can't do it. So we're going to sort of get together in our church
Mm-hmm.
and talk about how you really help people. Even if they get mad, how do you help them? Because I can remember someone comes up to you and says, I'm hungry, I need food.
Mm-hmm.
Well, just take it as that. They're hungry, they need food. Okay, here's some food. Here's a food voucher. I think all churches should have food vouchers.
Now, the voucher allows you to do what?
To go into a fast foods or someone and get some food.
So
rather than,
so it would be like if you gave somebody a gift certificate.
Yeah, give them a gift.
So they would use it at a McDonald's or a Wendy's or Burger King or diner or whatever.
Or a diner, right? Or one of those places to eat. If they need clothes, it's, food pantries. What do you want? And they tell you what they want, and they're gonna say, well, the next question, what you always say when people come to African American Alliance, what are you willing to do to get there? Mm-hmm. How do you plan on solving that problem? If you came here with a problem, you must have thought about how to solve it. How are you going to solve that problem? What's going to help you? What's going to help you not come back to me next month and tell me the same thing? What's your plan? If they have no plan, then that next decision is yours. Are you going to help this person every month, or are you going to say, you need to have a plan? You need to tell me how you're going to change this. Because if you're not going to change it, I'm not willing to feed you for the rest of your life. Or whatever plan that they have. But I see people standing on corners asking, for food and all of that. But where's that going? I don't, where's that going? Just like It's one thing to teach someone how to fish, so now you can go out and fish for yourself. But what are you gonna do tomorrow?
Mm.
And you still gonna stand on this corner and ask for food? What are you gonna do to change the fact that you're on this corner standing for food? Maybe it's not your fault. Maybe something in your life happened that got you to this point that you're standing on this corner.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I can understand that. All right. So what's your plan to change it? Or is there a plan to change it? If the plan is, I don't have a plan, I'm just going to stand here every day, because that is hard work. I could not stand on a corner in the winter, in the fall, and stand up there for hours and hours and hours. That's hard work.
In essence, it's a job.
It's a job. So if you consider that, just like shoplifters,
Mm-hmm. Boosters.
who come and tell me my job is boosting.
Right.
Somebody orders something.
What do you
I
need from the mall? I'm going out to the mall on Saturday.
Yeah.
Put your order in.
And that's what they do. And so you put your order in, and they go out and boost it. And they come back with your order, and they charge you. That's a job.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it's no different than any other job in the whole United States of America, because all of us use everybody.
Well, you got to work. You got to do you have to do some sort of effort to get something in return. Even if it's standing on a corner, there's still an effort.
That's right. It's still an effort. And if that's what they want to do, okay, do that. Some people are going to give you money. Some people make a lot of money that way. I kind of think that I don't like it when they bring the children. I really don't like that.
Oh, as part of the begging operation.
Yes. Now the children got a stroller, got a sleeping area, got everything they need for that woman to get out there and hold up that sign. They want for nothing, because she done brought everything they need. Mm-hmm. And they're under a tree. I saw this at Walmart Plaza. And as you're going out, there's this tree and a little hill.
You talk about the Walmart Plaza on Flatbush.
Flatbush.
Yeah.
And she had her babies all set out there. The baby, and every once in a while she'd hold the baby and hold up the sign.
Oh my goodness.
And then she'd put the baby down, and the baby would. Now, she didn't come out there with no food for them babies. She had food for her baby. She had coverage for her baby. She was taking care of her children. But she was standing, that's her job. Mm. She was standing out there with that flyer. I saw her several times, and people stopped and gave her money. I said, wow, that's her job. And I don't like the fact that she uses her children, but maybe she got to bring them because she hasn't got a babysitter. I don't know. But she made that decision to do that because she didn't have to.
And it could be very dangerous to bring children into an environment like that. I know exactly where because we go to Walmart every week.
It's like crazy. Or you get to Walmart really early, and you see a van or something drop off people, and they go to different sections.
Right. See, there's a whole operation.
Yes.
There's a whole operation, and
That's
it's
a
not
business.
just people panhandling per se. There's a whole syndicate of panhandlers, and they drop them off, and I don't know if they're being managed or run.
I don't know that, but they're together, and they drop off together. They picked up together, and they're not hungry, and they sleep someplace.
Well, if you can get, if you could turn, $400 a day, $300 a day, and you got 10 people out there, that's
That's
$2,000 to $4,000 a day.
right.
You multiply that by a week.
Tax free.
Tax in cash, tax free. But I've had conversations with people, and it's been suggested to me that there's an organization running them, like gangs, so to speak, and these people are under control. It's almost like prostitution.
Well, prostitution game. It's a business.
Business. Well, yeah.
Like it ain't a business.
You know, everything is a business.
It's a business. And, you know.
It'd be an illegal business, but business nonetheless.
Illegal business that most of us, in some way, buy into.
Mm-hmm.
Because you give money sometimes. I give money sometimes. You know. Prostitution, well, hey, it's been around for a long time.
They say it's one of the world's oldest businesses.
Right, it's not going anywhere. So, you know, and I was just thinking about this when I was coming over. I was like, wow, this, you know, you just say, you grow up, you get your job, you go to school, you do this. There's so much more than that. Mm-hmm. And there are people that do not have the mindset to do that. They don't want to do that. They don't want
the standard 9 to 5 working. Well, that's very true. That's true.
That 9 to 5, and they're not going to be in. And they're also not going to vote because you're not doing nothing for them. They do everything for themselves. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, they're not voters, most of them. They're, you know, unless you could round them up with food and promise them something after they go vote. So they go and vote, and then you give them their food or whatever you promise them.
Well, those individuals, you know, folk go out, politicians get, you know, groups of people will go out, register, identify, register, and then make sure they have a way to get to the poll.
Right.
But that's another way of gaming the system.
But they're not.
They're not civically engaged. They're just it's just an exchange. Right. It's an exchange. That is gaming the system.
Yeah. Where am I coming into the polls? Where am I supposed to stand? Blah 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 blah. I got these flyers and got the flyers from one of the candidates who was for mayor. I won't name. And they're out there. They have no interest in who's running. They have no interest in who's going to be mayor. They're not going to be engaged in any kind of civic.
And this is more than just an opinion because you're at the polls.
I was there.
You work in the polls almost every election for.
So what they're doing is they get their money. Mm-hmm. So someone went out and said, "I'll give you such and such $dollars if you just go out and do this." Means absolutely nothing to them. They're just going to do that because they're going to get that money. Blah 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 blah, and so. They don't care of the candidate. They have no interest in anything at all except their particular agenda. So
the interest is the immediate cash. That's the interest is they're being paid. And of course, the people who once were civically engaged have either moved away or are no longer caring because they're tuned out. Things aren't working the way they think they should be working, so they're tuned out. And this is a big problem, Cleo. Whether you're talking about voting, whether you're talking about, you know, community groups, churches, institutions, using
everybody else, and it's all the same thing. And when a person who doesn't have a 9 to 5 or a job that is socially acceptable, and they could make it with nice clothes on and clothes on their back, and they're living in a nice place. They never pay taxes a day in their life, and then they get of age, and the system takes care of them. And they tell you, when I get of age, they're gonna take care of me. Then I'm not giving them a cent. Look at what they've done, blah, 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 blah. And these are intelligent people. These are not stupid people. Mm-hmm. They would never pay taxes in their lives. Now, that's a poor person. I remember someone, wonderful cook. Someone tried to send him to cooking school. I told you about this. Mm-hmm. And we kept telling the man, he's not going to culinary school. He's not going. But the mayor wouldn't listen to it. The person who they were going to send to culinary school is still looking like $1 million, living in his place and doing his thing. And what's the difference in that than that rich lady saying, me pay taxes? Remember her? She said she didn't pay taxes. Well, they went after her and she had to pay them. But if she kept her mouth shut, she didn't ever pay taxes. Because she had never paid taxes and she was filthy rich. And she just looked her nose down at people who paid taxes. What is the difference between her and that man who worked the system and he didn't pay him either? What's the difference?
Well, I would say there's no difference. They're both wrong.
They're both wrong, but they make it in America. They make it here. Why? Why? And the only people who hardly never use anybody is that hard-working Joe in the middle. He's paying up bill for everybody.
Well, he is paying enough bill. He and she, they're both paying.
Paying the bill.
They're carrying everyone. You were talking earlier about, feeding somebody for life. But as you were talking, I'm thinking to myself, well, I can carry you for a little while. But if people thought of it, or if it was like really carry, can you carry me? All right, how far? Well, I need you to carry me across the street. I mean, where someone actually gets on your back and you're carrying them, because that's really what's going on. You're carrying people. So when folk come to help, I can carry you like maybe 40 feet, but you're gonna have to walk some of this too. I can help you because you're down, but I can't carry you everywhere I go. And a lot of people just want someone to carry them.
And that's true. A lot of people just want you to carry them. So here you are with people coming to you saying, I need help. And if you ask them what kind of help, they're probably going to give you, most of the time, monetary value, or they're going to say, I need a room for the night, or they're going to say something that they could get, right away, which really doesn't help them at all. Doesn't help them at all. Because if you feed them at 9 o'clock in the morning and 9 o'clock at night, they're hungry again.
Right.
So if they don't have a plan, they're going to be hungry again in a few hours.
So what is your plan? What is your plan to sustain you longer than right now? They're living right now. There's no thinking about the future other than, well, tomorrow will present an opportunity and I'll take advantage of it then.
Yeah, because they don't want it. They're not gonna think it through. So you're gonna meet 100 people, and out of those 100 people, just like in sales, maybe you got 2 or 3 who actually fight and work and turn their life around. The way society thinks they ought to turn it around, which means you are not a burden on my back.
That's a good way to look at it.
You are taking care of yourself. And there's some people that actually do that. That's what makes it worth it.
But the society, now, when you say society, I know what you mean. Because but every group of people, whether it's 2 people, any group of 2 or more, has conditions and rules for maintaining the relationship of the group. And if you don't want to abide by the rules, then the group pushes you out. Right. So, the society can be 2 people. You have a broader society. So, a lot of people will want to blame society for things. But, if you get rid of one group, you got to belong to somebody, something. Because you were saying, everybody uses everybody. And most of the times, that's exactly what it is. And I've heard people say, well, I'm going to use them before they use me. And so it's like a mutual use. I think that mutual benefit is a better model. Like, how can I be a benefit to you? So that you're benefiting one another as opposed to using one another. Maybe it's just semantics. But I think when you help someone, like you're helping somebody. Like the thrift shop is mutually beneficial. The person has something they no longer need, so they donate it to the thrift shop. The thrift shop can then give it to somebody who wants it, and they don't pay a fee for it, and everyone has benefited from the action.
Right.
The thief will take it from that person's house, sell it to you at an inflated price. You take half of what they give you, keep it for yourself, and sell the other half to somebody that might want it and is broken. That's like using. To me, that's kind of, everybody's using one another to get over.
There are what I learned in the thrift shop is there are many kind people who give so generously to help people. And there are times when, and we have a problem with stealing. People steal from us all the time.
They steal from the gift shop?
They steal from the gift shop all the time. But you have the majority of the people who give, they give such wonderful things to this gift shop. I mean, new things, and people who overbuy, who buy stuff that they don't need.
Overbuyers Anonymous.
Yeah, and they bring them to the thrift shop, and we sell them, and we don't sell them for all of that much. And sometimes someone just can't afford something, so we just give it to them. But they can't milk that. But and we give children things and things like that. It's really a nice little thrift shop. But I could see the give and take, and the people who come in are so fascinating. They're just so fascinating. They come in for, like, this man ties string or rope and to make nets and all of this thing, and he has all these different knots that he makes, and he goes in the thrift store and sees something, and it's wonderful because he'll explain how this was made and how he uses it in his hobbies. Or I need a t-shirt. Someone will come in, I need a t-shirt. I don't have any t-shirts, So sometimes we gotta help a few people with t-shirts and things like that. But people who come in, we have people coming in here spending hundreds of dollars, just looking around and buying and spending, and it's just a wonderful experience. Of course, I don't do most of the work, I have to admit. Pat Pagano does most of the work. She loves this, and I help her, but a lot of times I'm just watching her and keeping her company. But
I'm sure you may process it as you don't do much of anything, but you're there. I'm there every week. Every week.
Yes.
She's not by herself.
Right. That's the main reason I'm there.
Right. And you're helping.
I'm helping.
If she needs to go to the bathroom or has to leave, go get a cup of coffee or something,
right?
She can do that.
And she is. She's great, and I do help her. I think I do something, and we both wait for the 10 o'clock hour. 10 o'clock hour, because I gotta get on the telephone. I gotta get on.
For the Alliance man, right.
So last week, someone said, "Oh, it's 25 after 10." I said, "It can't be 25 because we're running around working." And I said, "Oh well, they'll understand. They'll understand that I'm probably busy." So we just sort of went on, and then there's sometimes people just come in to talk.
Mm-hmm.
They just talk and look, and they buy just little gadgets things, and they come back again and talk. And we try to get people to come to the church, but they don't. That's a big thing to ask somebody, I think.
What, to come to church?
To come to your church. They probably have churches.
Well, I mean, the church is the one having the. I don't see anything. I don't think that's a big ask. I mean,
No,
it may be an unreasonable expectation that they're going to come, but I don't see anything wrong with asking.
No, that's what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
It's because sometimes we really expect people to come, and they don't come. It's
You can make it a condition of the sale. Now, if you really want this, you need to come to church to pick it up. We'll set it aside, and it'll be available for you at the end of the service.
But I think people, even though we don't have a lot of people in our church, I think people in the surrounding areas do like our church, and they do come. And if they could come to the thrift shop and talk, that's what they do. People passing by or coming off the highway see our little sign, and thank the mayor of Vernon for allowing us to keep up that sign, because you're not supposed to.
Oh, wow. City code.
Yeah, some kind of.
Town code.
Yeah.
So churches are, I think, churches are, they're fading. I think these things happen over the course of time. But now with technology being what it is, with the capacity that people have to travel, with people being transient, moving around a lot, there are certain areas within the city, we'll use Hartford since that's where we are, where there's no real way to organize that community because no one is there longer than 6 months. People, everyone's moving. They're so moving around that they're not actually stable, and so you can't organize them to do things. I only say that to say that churches.
So churches have to change, right?
I don't know if it's churches need to change or they need to embrace what's happening. If they change, they're gonna have to make some radical changes.
I mean,
because churches grew because families grew. And kids didn't all move away. A lot of times, what's happening now is kids don't stay. They don't stay where they grew up. They leave. And churches are little communities. They didn't really need to go outside. I mean, if a new person came, they were welcomed. They may do some evangelism, to take out the gospel. But they had a natural growth because a family would come. 10 years, 15 years, they have kids. Their kids grow to Sunday school. They become part of the church, the fabric, the youth choir. Next thing you know, they grow up. There's marriage. They marry one. Next thing you know, they have kids, and the church continues. It's like a big extended family. But if the kids stop coming, then that youth stops coming. So it seems that it would be hard to get just youth in general to start coming to church,
right?
Simply because it's church. Because there's so many ways for people to have that kind of spiritual relationship without going to a church. And that's becoming more and more acceptable now. And once upon a time, churches had like television broadcasts, went way back. But now there's whole opportunities for people to have those kinds of exchanges and never go to a church. And it's much more acceptable. Same thing for clubs, like Elks clubs and Rotaries, and
they're going out too.
Everything is dying of old age. I mean, there's organizations where the 65-year-old is the youngest one in it. And the people still treat the 65-year-old like a kid because, he is a kid or she is a kid to some degree to the elders that are there. And so the 14 to 20-year-olds aren't coming there. There's such a gap. It's like you're hanging out with your parents, which most people don't do.
Right. We have one nucleus family in our church with a young person. No, maybe, yeah, I would say that's been there. The father grew up there. They got married there. They brought up their daughter there. You know, and now they're graduating. She's graduating from college. Whatever she does, it may be the end of that. But
well, if she gets married and stays in town, particularly if she gets married in that church, there's a likelihood that she'll stay and her kids will come. If she joins her husband's church, like if he's unchurched, then he may join that church if it's the family tradition and she's really strong in, her religious beliefs. But if he's a church-going guy and has grew up in the same kind of thing, she'll probably wind up joining his church.
Yes. So these churches that are dying, even if you do evangelism, you evangelize all the neighborhood and you go around, you do all of this. The probability that more people are gonna come to the church the way you think they're gonna come, because they, it's not realistic.
No, I don't think so. And I think scripturally speaking, you go out into the highways and byways and compel men to come to Christ, not come to church. So there's no real model where people are coming to church. And the group, the alcohol group, the ones, they meet and gather because they have a like mind. So, in a way, though it is not a church, the Alliance is it's an organization that is a lot like other organizations that are like churches. People come there because they have a common mindset, like-minded, either in how they want to, gain information and insight from one another about things going on in the community. They don't necessarily agree, but they share information and they grow from one another's counsel and from one another's experiences because they want to learn. And when they get with other people that have that same like mind, those folks come. But life happens and then they go on about their business and they'll never come back again. Or they got what they needed in the moment and then they leave. They may have been there for a year or two and worked on a particular issue and then something else happens. And I think churches, that same thing happens. And if you have a tight-knit community where people don't do a lot of traveling and about, then the church can grow. But where there's a lot of turnover in community, it seems to me it would be difficult because the stable core is growing older, retiring and leaving, being promoted into glory. The pastor's gone, which was one of the anchor points. They get a new minister. Half the church don't like him. They leave. I mean, these are the kinds of dynamics that you have to deal with. And so the older churches, I think that the core of them was the family. And they built these great churches, and now they're starting to diminish. And
because there aren't those families anymore.
The families aren't there anymore. Kids are leaving. You didn't leave town once upon a time. You talk to many people. They've never left. They've never left their town. They might have gone to visit somebody here or there, but they've basically been in town. Like if you went out to Vernon and Marlboro and some of these outer towns, there's people that've been there their whole life. They've never been out. They've never left town. Been there forever. There's people in Hartford that are like that.
Ines never left town. Been here since she was born.
And has no intention whatsoever of leaving.
None. Been visiting a few times, but that's it.
Mm-hmm. See, I wasn't born in Hartford. I came here when I was 19. But I will most certainly, I'll die in Hartford. Like, I see no reason to leave Hartford. I couldn't imagine leaving Hartford.
Really?
Oh, yeah. This is where I live.
I miss Hartford. See, I don't think I'm in Hartford. I miss Hartford.
You were in Hartford. You made.
I miss Hartford.
This is a Woodland Street. You think she would have moved out of Hartford?
No. I don't mean because I'm on Woodland Street. No, I mean.
Oh, you're out of Hartford for like church and.
No, right. I miss Hartford because I miss Sundays.
Mm-hmm.
I miss Sundays because Sundays was the most calming day of the week. Well, it was quiet. People would go to church and they'd come out of church, and most of them wouldn't go to restaurant. You'd go home, and that's when we didn't have chicken every day. Chicken was a very special meal, and your mother had cooked something special because it's Sunday,
mm-hmm.
and you had this quiet dinner, and then you may watch television for a little while, or talk, or visit family, go over your grandmother's house. It was just a quiet day. Most things were closed, except for maybe a few gas stations and drugstores. It was a quiet day. People were quiet on Sunday.
But there's a mainstay to what you're talking about,
and it's gone.
Family. It was a family day.
It was a family day.
If you didn't have family, quote unquote, like nuclear family, where you are, there was still family you went and visited.
Yes.
Or you went over some friend's house and they invited you in, and you shared the meal with them.
Yes.
Even if you didn't go to church, someone you knew that went to church was cooking, and so you went and you'd spent Sunday with them. But the core of that is family. Yeah, and without family, all of that disintegrates and breaks down.
Yes. And there's always, man always changes, how he does things. But I miss being in at 5 and everybody sitting down
mm-hmm.
to dinner. And it's just nothing together. And you're right. It's family. You better be home at 5, or you better be home at 5:30, because dinner's on the table, and we all sit down to eat. We say
mm-hmm.
grace, and we eat our meal.
Breaking bread,
and
yep.
It's gone. Even we tried it. My son and I. He said one day, let's eat at the table today.
mm-hmm.
So we did. Me and him, and Willie. He even joined us, which is unusual. Came and we ate the meal together. We laughed and we talked, and it was a fun time to do that. I just wish there was something that we did on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
Where at a certain time we sit down and we eat. People didn't 5 and 6 o'clock. People didn't go to each other's house at that time because everybody was sitting down. Everybody was having a meal.
Mm-hmm.
All the kids were running home and to get home in time for dinner.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no set times for anything anymore. To me, nothing.
Yeah, we live very very individual lives.
Yeah.
You know, everybody has their phone, and people are entertained on their phone. They communicate on the phone. They do their banking on the phone. They do everything is on this personal digital device. But, you know, you can watch television. I can remember when everyone in our house watched TV. And that's what was on. You know, you went to not home box office, Blockbuster, or the Red Box, or somebody brought over a DVD or a VHS videotape. You had cable, so there was a lot of good things on cable. And there was like one television. You might have had two TVs in the house, but it was very rare that to be somebody watching one TV in one room and somebody in another room.
Right.
But now, everyone's watching everything on their phone. And you can watch what you want to watch. Not what whoever has control of the TV controller, or the kids want to watch something, so everybody's watching it because it's only one thing to watch.
But the father,
Dad controlled the remote.
Thank you. The father always had the remote. The father had the remote. That's when remotes came out, because we didn't always have remotes. But
which was always a remote. That's what the children were. Get up and put it on channel 10.
Yeah. They tell you to go to the TV and change this.
Right, turn the volume up.
Yeah. You did all of that stuff, and then it came around with the remote. Mm-hmm. But I remember Dallas.
Oh yeah.
My whole family used to run home.
Yeah. Everybody watched that.
And watched Dallas.
Who shot JR?
Oh
goodness.
I think that was the biggest episode. Who shot JR? Oh my! And we had to wait all summer till the new season came to find out who shot JR. And you know those televisions went on when that first when that came back on. So, but no more.
No more.
So.
Yeah, it times change, but family is the core of all of that. And
so what does the family look like now?
The family looks like many different things, but in that people, this is now thus saith Stan, not necessarily the truth, in that people have to claim what family is. We are a family. This is a family. That's a family. Means that there's a struggle trying to define what family is, because they're trying to move it away from what family is. Like, you don't have to explain what you are. You are what you are, unless that's not what you are, and then you have to tell everybody.
So you're saying that we're having new definitions of.
There are new definitions of family, but the family is not. There's a hard line definition of what a family is. There are people who would like to expand and change what a family is, because they don't like the traditional, centuries old, decades and centuries, millennium old definition of family, and want to change it in the last 50, 60 years, what millennium has defined as a family. And the standard family has rules. There's things that happened. Mom treats the children like they're her children. She'll die for those kids. There's certain things that there's certain roles that were done, and everything else extends from those roles. Those roles don't exist in other things. In the new definition of family, those roles aren't there. So the outward manifestation of those roles, family gatherings, going to church, having worship services, being parts of clubs, and what the girls do, what the boys do, all those things are tossed up in the air. And so the things that were the outgrowth of them or supported them has been tossed to the side. So the structure is breaking down, and who knows?
And we're losing that line. I know that every time when I'm looking at television and I'm seeing these guns in these women's hands and them fighting and winning the fights over some man and all of this stuff, that's shading what women actually are.
Tell me. I mean, it's the women are more brutal and killering. They kill more men than men kill. In these,
they're making it very
in the new definition of what women are, which is just ridiculous. We're out of time, Miss Cleo.
okay. I guess I'll have to see you next week.
This was good.
To continue whatever we're gonna.
Of course, I could talk to
with.
Cleo all day. Jonathan Small is here. He's on deck, so we'll have him come in the studio, listen to a little more Jay Hogarth, and we'll see Miss Cleo next week.
Okay, see you next week.
All right, my friends, stick and stay. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back. Oh, yeah. That's fascinating. I get that. Okay, let me stop because I'll sit here and watch Jay on the vibraphones for the next half hour. Jonathan Small in the house. How was your weekend?
Well, everything up until Sunday. Sunday was just like a dull, rainy day. But other than that, it was a pretty normal weekend. You know, look forward to nice weather to be outside. You know, didn't really feel like going outside on Sundays and just listen to the baseball game pretty much.
Oh, okay.
So kind of stayed low key and just trying to take it one step at a time. You know, always looking for something as a next challenge. You know, so worrying about the next day before the next day even arrives. That's the kind of habit I got to get out of.
Yeah. You can't be consumed by work. You spend every day worrying about the day that's coming. Then you can't enjoy the day you're living in.
Exactly. So that's what I got to practice on, figuring out to enjoy the day.
Well, anxiety.
Yeah, it could be anxiety. Anxious. Anxious.
Yeah. Anxious.
To do that, it's a bad habit. You figure a way to get out of it.
Yeah, enjoy the now.
Enjoy the now.
No matter how much you plan, tomorrow is not going to get here until tomorrow.
Yeah.
So
Well, sometimes if you got a rain out, you just got to call it a day. If you got outdoor plans that you wanted to water the lawn or cut the grass or play baseball, it's unlikely you're going to do it on a rain out. So now you got to just figure out like something else to do as an indoor hobby and, keep you active for that particular day. But, yeah, I think it's in life, you just figuring out how to orchestra yourself through the maze, because you can get consumed with so many different issues. And I think I kind of wanted to address this last week, about the 5 pinpoint plan that I wanted to advocate towards, economic development, education, housing, public safety, and health. But I thought about it. You already have agencies in place that deals with those issues.
absolutely, we have more agencies that deal with all of the things that supposedly got us jacked up.
Yeah. So, I mean, the whole point is that's nothing new.
No.
Coming up with those 5 areas is just nothing new. Although the only thing that could be somewhat different maybe is the people, instead of always turning to the agencies, figure a way that you can kind of resolve some of these issues internally. If you got, let's say, economic development, figure a way how you can kind of develop your own economic development plan and see if that could branch out beyond just, your solo individual self.
Yeah.
And education, that might be a little, yeah, you can develop and learn, self-learn. You're not going to run those school systems individually, but
No.
but there's things you could do to kind of spearhead some areas of better education, housing. Why turn to the Hartford or any housing authority when there might be ways that you could have better housing in another mechanisms? I mean, you got to have these agencies, I guess, in place. Health, I guess if you have to go to your doctor and use the medical services that exist, might be ways that you could better take care of yourself individually too. And then I mentioned public safety. Public safety, I don't know. I mean, just trying to be a law-abiding citizen and, have block watches. Those are little small things you can kind of do. You still need law enforcement agency. You still have to work with the law enforcement.
Yeah, because law enforcement is duly deputized, and they are they are the only ones really authorized to arrest and detain, to go and investigate. Though there are private investigators.
Yeah,
but for the most part, you're as a taxpayer, you have a whole department whose main job it is to keep the peace and enforce the rules. That's their main purpose, and go apprehend the people who break those rules and disrupt the peace. And without them, you have chaos.
Yeah. Well, that's why I said, you still have to work within the agencies that you have. And, like I said, I don't know what's going to come out of it. Just a few days ago, I just was looking into some issues in Washington, D.C. And, if you can't, I mean, the city is out of control. I mean, high homicide rates, carjackings, is spreading even out.
D.C.?
D.C.
Okay.
I'm actually looking into doing a show about D.C., but I don't know which type of show I'm going to do. But I'm just saying right now, I mean, the nation's capital is under siege, and it's not even as bad as it was in the early 90s. I mean, 224 homicides they had last year.
And Washington, D.C. is a small little town.
Small town? Yeah, geographically.
Yeah.
People get caught up thinking it's a big district. And if you got all of your federal agencies, so I guess the security around the White House is going to always be secure, I guess, to some degree.
Yeah. That's always going to be safe.
But the conditions that the other areas in Washington, D.C. exist, I was thinking, I don't even know, you were saying last week that all law enforcement or all police officers should live in the city. I'm not even convinced, man. I would live in a good part of Washington, D.C. I mean, I could probably be changed if I talk to the right person. But from what I'm hearing going on in that city, I don't know. So living in some bad areas just to say
this is what happens when you cancel police. The people talk about defund the police.
Yeah.
Can we spend public safety dollars better? Yes. Can we demand better treatment from misbehaving police officers? Absolutely. But you don't defund the police. That's like you have a hijacker take over your plane, and so your solution is to cut them off from fuel. Meanwhile, there's 600 people on the plane. You don't cut back the fuel, you get rid of the hijacker.
Yeah.
So people have these long ways that they go about fixing something that's very simple, because the simple fix is difficult to implement because the people who have hijacked the system have taken it over for their own gain and not for service of the greater good.
Yeah. Well, I heard about defunding the police. I mean, that's just like you say, make this bad situation even much worse.
Absolutely.
But I think there's ways that you could still resolve that issue too. There's just a little bit more work and effort you got to put into some things. If you really want to get a staff of police officers, patrolling and doing their duties at fully staffed, and I don't want to say go out of their way, but obviously, patrolling and doing your basic job, what you're paid for, there's ways you can enforce that. I doubt very seriously if you take some politically connected, affluent community and crime was out of control. This gets into another subject matter, but still, and you talking about less police and defunding the police, I don't think that community would tolerate it. See, it still keeps coming back to the same areas of people feeling like they have no power, and this is the way life has to be. And if this is all that you have been seeing, up into a long period of time, you kind of start to believe that. It's no justification of giving up, Stan, but you get sometime defeated, mentally, physically, spiritually. There's just sometimes, man, things can weigh you down and weigh a neighborhood down.
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. It doesn't change what needs to be done or what happens if you don't change. You are the last person off of a sinking ship, and they send down the ladder, and you're on it, and you're just tired.
Yeah.
You've been in the water, you're cold, you're tired, you hold on to that ladder with everything you have, and sometimes you just can't hold on no more, and you just want to give up. And if you do, you fall to your death. It ain't fair, but that's the situation you're in. And so you have to hold on if you want to survive. Communities have to have the capacity to hold accountable the people who are delivering the services. If they don't, folk will half step and you won't get nothing.
And don't get me wrong, you still have societal issues that individually is contributing towards, I don't want to give the impression that this is all on one areas of law enforcement agencies or the school systems. But people now are going to start to always try to figure out, what could be done. I mean, obviously, 2 teenagers look like in Hartford had somewhat of a good future, getting ready to graduate. One of them, One of them is in some type of engineering program. So this on paper doesn't look like, two, be careful what I'm saying, thugs or some people who are headed for trouble. I don't know for sure, all the details. And then over the weekend, they just ends up being killed in some shooting incident in a hallway. I don't know what you do. I don't know who you now.
There's not much you
yeah
can do.
Right.
Because it's outside of your control.
Outside your control. Right.
All we can do is comment on what happened. Like all we'll be able to do 3 weeks from now is comment on what's going to happen 2.5 weeks from now.
Well,
but nobody knows what that is. Otherwise, they could intervene. Because, unfortunately, these things happen, and they happen more if you have communities that are overtaken by certain elements and certain activities.
Yeah. But then sometimes you got to start to look at some red flags. I'm not an expert in this area, but okay, last week a teenager, 13 years old, brings a gun to this Achievement First school.
Right.
And, obviously he's been arrested. I don't know what comes out of that. He's a juvenile, so he might have to do juvenile time. I don't know for sure, but I'm saying you better get to that person quick, Stan.
Well, the red flag is McDonald's every day having to close down. The red flag is the young people going over and cleaning out Rite Aid.
Right.
The red flag are all of the people talking about how something needs to be done, but every day the same activity happens. At what point do you implement the fix?
Well, you said one thing, if I'm looking at the representatives who represents the McDonald's area, I believe now I found out Speaker Matt Ritter, that's his district. I thought it was Joshua Hall's district for the Achievement First school, but that's not the case. But then you're saying it's not a statewide issue. Then now it's a local issue. It's
that to me, and this is a discussion we've actually had at the Alliance. This is a community issue.
It's a community. Okay.
This is a community issue. It's a family issue.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. It's also a public safety issue.
Right.
For local police.
Yeah.
But there's agencies, like you mentioned, there's plenty of agencies. So what are we going to do?
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to execute the fix? We don't need think tanks debating what's wrong or where the breakdown is. We need some executive action that actually implements the fix, and that needs whatever resources necessary to get it done.
Mm-hmm.
Like the bridge that came down over the weekend.
Right.
Gasoline truck crashed into bridge. Bridge was compromised from the heat from the fuel burning, and they had to close the highway down. 80 hours later, the highway was open because they fixed it. Now it's going to take a year or so to make the bridge, but you can get that done quicker too if you really, 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 really put forth the effort to fix the bridge. But you have so many things impeding the fix. Well, this union, that union, this group, that group, this group got to go through wetlands and this, that, and the third. And, there's so many ways to get in the way of fixing a thing. What does it take to fix the situation with the young people up at McDonald's? It's not that deep.
Yeah. I think every now and then I might see, I see police officers in the parked car in the parking lot. But that's like a security issue. That's really not getting at the root of the problem. They don't, get into no trouble as long as the police car is parked there. But like you said before, they just probably go someplace else. So,
but there's a root cause for all of this.
And
the root cause can be determined. There are ways to get this done. If there is intentional effort to get it done.
Yeah, well, intervention of the students towards, if these are bad students doing some things that's disruptive in the community.
They could be good students, but there is no debate on them doing bad things. So
Yeah.
these young people are doing bad things. Whether or not they're good kids or not is irrelevant. Their behavior is not.
Yeah, well, the behavior.
The
you're
behavior
right.
is unacceptable, and they need to find out why the behavior is what it is, and then eliminate what's causing it.
Yeah, but don't you already have agencies and organizations that work with youth who have bad behaviors?
There's all kinds of agencies. That don't mean that they're working.
Okay.
Because you're good at this doesn't mean you're good at that.
Mm-hmm.
So there are ways to find out.
You probably would prefer to get from the students to the parents. Let the parents know exactly, because they're still underage, so they still either have a parent or a guardian. So I think by me knowing you a little bit, I think you probably will want to put this to the parents. Get to the student, and then, okay, who's this student's parents or guardian? Where's this problem coming from? This student is disruptive. He's doing something, fighting, at the McDonald's parking lot. You say going to Rite Aids, whatever they're doing. I don't, fortunately, I have never seen it take place in Rite Aid, but it sounds like it's some criminology or some criminal issues that you're talking about. And sometimes you just got to call it what it is. We don't want to.
Right. You guess I guess you know me pretty good, John.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So now this is draconian, but I bet you this would work.
Mm-hmm.
Any young person caught up there acting out, we got cameras. We know who you are. We're gonna arrest you, bring you downtown, and charge your parents.
Yeah. Misdemeanor, but still charge your parents.
We're gonna charge your parents.
Mm-hmm.
Right. We're gonna process you so that we can charge your parent, and then they're gonna pay the price for whatever it is you did.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna let you go and keep them overnight.
So your suggestion, from what you're breaking it down towards how you're gonna resolve this, or lead towards resolving it, that the problem is coming from home with the parents.
I don't know if the problem's coming from home, but the solution could come from home.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to hold the parents accountable for every action that the kids do up there.
Right.
And guess what? Now we have some real authority acting in these kids' lives. Now I'm telling you.
It'll get turned around.
Right.
Yeah, because I know
Because parent ain't gonna like the next. I bet you. I better not have to come down there to get you out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, maybe that suggestion could be looked into. I don't know what legal authority you're gonna be able to implement that, but I mean that is one recommendation. That's pretty much all that you can do. There's no law right now on the books that is gonna arrest a parent. From what I understand.
we just had some parents get sentenced for their son's action, and the kid went and killed up all them people. Now the parents they're in jail for a long time. Both parents out west.
Okay,
That's the first time the parents have been sentenced for a crime that their child did.
Yeah, but that's a more serious crime from what you're talking about.
Right,
yeah.
but I think a precedent has been set. Now, what are we gonna do? Wait until some kid come in there and shoot 3 or 4 people?
Right.
You was talking about the red flags.
Mm-hmm. Well, even red flags, what took place in Sandy Hook. I mean, that was an isolated incident. And sometimes, like you say, some things are out of control. You can't predict how it's gonna happen. I mean, this kid kills his mother, I believe, and shoots up the school. So incidents like that probably is more of an isolated.
Those are isolated. But if you might be going to jail because your son is, acting out of sorts, Billy was sawing off shotguns. I didn't really think much of it.
Yeah.
What are you doing with those tubes of metal? Well, I was, lowering down the barrel length of my shotgun. There's flags all over the place, but people aren't paying attention or distracted or don't care or don't think it's a big thing.
Yeah.
How many ways do young people have to yell for help before they're heard?
Well, I mean, it would be interesting to know, involving that 13-year-old, what type of home he's coming from, what his involvement with his parents, what's his track record. I mean, sometimes you got to break a whole case down. You don't want to really throw the book at a teenager and throw his life away.
We're not throwing no one's life away.
But I mean, you need to look into exactly
right.
where
We're
the problem
not
coming
throwing.
from.
I'm not talking about throwing somebody's life away, or whatever excuse somebody wants to use for not doing this. Well, now they're gonna have a record for the rest of. No. Are we trying to fix this? Or are we trying to find excuses to not get it done?
Well, there is a strong possibility he could have a record for the rest of his life if that's a felony charge. So that part, from what I remember Chief Darrell Roberts indicating about, when kids sometimes get arrested for certain things, that record can stay on your record for a long time. So if he has a felony charge for bringing that gun,
he shouldn't be bringing a gun to school, but he
Right.
did. So we need to figure out why he brought the gun
Right.
to school, because he didn't bring this gun to school for no reason.
for no reason, exactly.
So there's a reason why the child brought a gun to school, and we have failed that child because they feel that the only way they can be safe is to bring a gun to school. So what is it that's threatening that child that they feel that they need to take this into their own hands by bringing a gun and eliminate whatever that is? Deal with it in a way that it gets resolved.
Yeah, and I would have to believe, man, offhand. I'm not, again, I don't know for sure, because you always want to give the benefit of the doubts that the schools and the administration is effectively teaching students and there's a good atmosphere, and luck. But again, you don't know for sure.
Right, and I don't give them that's not a benefit of the doubt. It is a high expectation and hope, but something is not working.
Right.
So let's find out what that is.
Yeah. Well, again, it's not a good sign. That's all I can really say, Stan. And to be honest, man, if you can't really solve, and I know sometimes problems can seem overwhelming, but if you can't solve problems in the local capital city in Connecticut, I can tell you from what I'm hearing going on in Washington, D.C., you're definitely not going to solve problems at that city or that district right now anytime soon. It just seemed like to me a small geographical region like Hartford, these problems would be much easier to resolve. And I don't put Hartford and Chicago in the same category as Chicago, Washington, D.C. It's just not. But I wouldn't tell someone who just lost their 2 children, of the gun violence, that this is not a serious epidemic and something that's really out of control, because you're just killing somebody in a hallway. I don't want to speculate because you don't know for sure what, and I think they are looking into it now. So hopefully we'll get some answers at some point. Who did this? Why? I know you say that's not relevant sometime, but get these people at least off of the street that did that, and hopefully they can figure out what's leading to some of these problems, because like you said before, it's just a matter of time, man. You just do a bad combination. Weather gets warmer, more people are out on the streets, a lot of time on your hand. Unfortunately, sometimes these factors go against a good society. Sometimes these conditions of nice weather, long days, contributes to having more problems instead of the other way around. People enjoying life, going to the parks, recreational activities, socializing. This is the way a normal society should be functioning.
I would agree with
But
you. Yeah.
But unfortunately, many times it goes the opposite.
Well, when you have individuals that aren't adjusted well in the society, they take those occasions to do things that are not beneficial
Right.
to the rest of the folk in the society.
Right.
And so these individuals need to be isolated and dealt with in a way that can be beneficial to everybody.
Right. And again, we talked one time before about, okay, parents got children in the school systems. They don't believe that the school systems is going to work for them. It's like a total failure. So their solution, get their children out of that school system, move to a better district.
People are voting with their feet.
Yeah, but it's like me, I could say, well, I don't have to, well, I'm in the inner city, but I don't have to go to Washington, D.C. right now. But I can understand people in a place like D.C. feeling like they're trapped with limited resources, not being able to go to a better district. Like you could do anything in life you want if you set your mind to it and have a game plan. But I can understand a group of people for different varied factors who just don't make enough income in many cases and have a difficult time being able to afford a nice district.
That is yes. For a lot of people can't just up and move.
Right. So I can relate to that.
Right.
In many cases. And
then they are trapped. Not only do they feel trapped, they are trapped, and they can't get out of that situation. And if you're living in survival mode, then it becomes exceedingly difficult.
But the thing about a small city like Hartford, you can be on a bad street, Bedford Street, and I got friends, and I don't live on Bedford Street, but I'm saying you can live on Bedford Street, and I got a good friend and family who's on Cornwall Street, and you feel like you're in a much better area. Although the person that I know, his problem is speeding, though. He thinks speeding is and that would be a nice problem to say. All you got on your street is probably speeding to deal with.
Until someone gets hit.
Until someone gets hit. You're right.
Right. So you've got kids running around the playground.
Right.
And running out of the house with excitement because their friend Deshaun is across the street. And they run across the street and get hit by some guy speeding 60 miles down a city street.
Right.
Instead of going 15 or 20 or something reasonable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that is, even though you may not see in hardened criminals and all of the bad elements, but that one problem, speeding, could lead to a serious problem. So
absolutely,
that's why he's real concerned about that. But that's the whole point, is one street can look so cleaner, nicer. It's kind of easy to figure out. Cornwall Street, you have a pretty solid home ownership rate. And it just has a history of being somewhat of a nice street.
Yeah, that's Blue Hills.
Blue Hills, yeah.
Voters.
Yeah, so that's a big
Texas T.
Okay.
The kinfolk said, gotta move away from there. Said Cornwall Street is where you should be.
Yeah.
So they loaded up the truck and they Blue Hills.
Right.
Hills, that is.
Yeah. That's the Beverly Hills.
Nice schools.
Yeah.
Good community. The Blue Hillbillies.
Yeah. Right. But again, I know you don't like to frustrate yourself, because you just say, look, if I'm not in a position of power that I could do something, I can't get caught up. You stay very neutral. That's one thing about you. You have a neutral element. Every now and then something might bother you that you might lose it, but that's rare. But you always seem to know how to stay neutral on issues.
Well, I might appear neutral. I'm not really as neutral as some may think. But I don't,
Yeah. You don't look for the press coverage and say, okay, we're going to try to do something drastic now. You gave your suggestions on what you think should happen involving the kids at the McDonald's parking lot and hanging out and doing things. You say, or get to the parents. If they get charged, arrest the parents. But don't you got to go through some legislation to really make that?
You may. I mean, there are people in power. There are agencies in place. There are bureaucracies that have been set up to deal with all of these things.
Right.
And so sometimes it strains the imagination as to why they can't do it. But,
Well, one thing about our city council people and many of our representatives, they live in the city. So, although many police officers don't live in the city, I think it's 95% of the Hartford Police Department.
Maybe they don't have they don't have the vision, the strength, or what some other thing. I mean, I can't lift 200 pounds.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that someone can't. I just can't. So we need to get somebody that's stronger to help me lift, or someone who can lift it for me. They may not have the capacity to do it. That doesn't mean that they're not in a position to cause that to be.
You mean the council?
Council
And the representatives?
The representatives, the people who've been elected, selected, and appointed. Anointed, even if self-appointed or self-anointed, they are there. So there should be a means by which to achieve these things, and it shouldn't be, all that difficult. It takes a little bit of intention.
Well, you still don't believe in the satellite office. The late Dr. Osterguy, and I had mentioned to you this before, you don't believe, because truthfully, Representative Green used to always say that if he saw the community behind him, it would carry like a lot of weight.
It would carry weight, not necessarily because he needs them in order to continue on, but he represents them.
Mm-hmm.
And from time to time, the person representing you needs you to be present.
Present, yeah.
And if you're not present, then it looks like he doesn't really represent anybody.
Exactly.
Or the people don't really care. So we could take this money that we would give to you and we're going to give it to someone else.
Yeah.
Because your folk ain't going to do nothing. And so you have to work with your representatives.
Yeah.
Now, maybe there needs to be more public pressure put on some of these folks that control the levers of power to get things done.
Mm-hmm.
Because they do get things done for some people.
Yeah.
But not for others.
Well, again, I told you over the weekend, I am working on getting a representative on Morning Talk. I know you're not interested directly in, you want to get a solutionary approach. So I'm trying to make sure that I can get that in place so this person can come on, give the data. This was brought up about a month or so ago that I mentioned that, I had heard a report of a lot of homeless students in Hartford, and you kind of debate that. So I'm still getting some information put together and make sure that, we can find out if this is an accurate number, what resources are available if this is the case to divert these students to. And I'm pretty sure academics would be a good theory, making sure what are kids really learning, are they really meeting the grade expectations or grade standards. Sometimes I think the people in the public community who choose for whatever reason not to go down to meetings, PTA meetings, PTO meetings, and other public meetings, they still are concerned sometimes. They just don't want to be part of that avenue.
Well, they may be concerned, but are they concerned enough to do something about it?
To do something about
it. That is evident, and that nothing's being done.
Yeah.
Now tonight, for those of you watching us in real time or before the 7th, it's May 7th. Tonight at Weaver High School will be a public hearing on the budget.
Right.
So let's see how many people come to the budget hearing. That'll give you a barometer of how engaged people are in what's going on in the city of Hartford as it pertains to issues in and around our city that are in the agencies that'll be impacted by the decisions of the elected class.
And wasn't there some money recently from the state forwarded to the schools, to the Hartford public school systems? I don't know if it was to prevent layoffs of teachers.
Yeah, I think it was to try and help prevent some of the layoffs.
The layoffs, yeah. Is that a good thing, you think, or that's just...
it's a good thing if the teacher's presence will bring up the grades.
Okay.
I mean,
preventing the layoffs is one thing.
Right. What's the impact to the child? Where's the impact?
So
they get the raise. Does that mean that the kids are going to be able to read now?
Okay.
Or they just going to have a job?
Have a job, yeah.
I care less about employing them. I want the kids to learn they're there so the kids can learn. That's why they get paid. That's why they have a job.
Right.
So that we could have our children learning.
And then the argument would be if the teachers would have got laid off, that would have affected the students. So that would
Right. So now that they're there, I would expect that the reading scores will go up astronomically because they have a new incentive to.
Yeah. We'll have to wait and see about that part. If that's gonna make a transition to better grades and better.
If your class's reading scores are down below X, we're gonna lay you off. That's what I would do. Yeah, fire you. Failure to deliver, breach of contract.
Teachers, the teachers union obviously wouldn't allow that though.
Sue me.
Sue me.
We're out of time, Jonathan.
Oh, okay.
All right, folks. We'll see you next week. Bye bye.